Hello, welcome to our first live cast of 2022. Um, Before we begin, I'd just like to introduce those who've never been a part of the live cast just to David Shoes. David Shoes is a nonprofit 501c3 organization. It started as a result of my son being killed by teen violence by a gun in the hands of a teen. Uh, One thing we want to do is we don't want another mother, we don't want another child hurt or killed, and so that's our focus is to reduce teen violence through some of the activities that we do. One is give what we call honor life presentations to young people, getting them to make positive choices, letting them realize how important they are and the gifts that they have to give, and they cannot give that gift if they're in a grave. The other thing is we also give book scholarships to young men who are going to college. We give that to them for the 4 years that they're in college, and we also try to connect them with a mentor for the 4 years. Our other thing we do is this: we try to involve the community in conversations so that we can all this mission of reducing teen violence and reducing gun violence, we that be a part of a mission for all of us. And so we have conversations related to topics that we hope would address this in our community. Today, our topic is rising to the top. We know this is March, this is Women's History Month, and we have four fantastic young women here who have risen to the top and who are still rising to the top because I know that nothing can stop them if that's where if they want to go higher, and we want to listen to them. We want to know about their journey, and we want to know how what they've done could assist and help other young people coming up. So we will be. One thing I wanted to let you know: if you have a question, please feel free to write the question in the comment area. We'll try to answer it. We're asking everyone who hears this or are a part of the audience to please put your email address in the comment area. We would like to make sure that you get an invitation for each one of the broadcasts that we have or the live casts that we have and what other activities we might be presenting. Uh, if you have a question, please don't hesitate to put the questions in the comment as well. We will begin. Uh, I'm going to ask. I'm just going to introduce slightly, just to give the name of the person, and then I'm going to have them introduce themselves. They will give us their name and whatever information, whatever it is that they want to give to identify who they are and what they've done. Absolutely, please feel free to do so. And then please tell us some of the challenges that you've met in your journey to where you are now. Any questions? All right, the first person I'd like to introduce is Miss Cheryl Willis. Would you please?
Hello,
Miss Cheryl Willis
everyone.
Hudson, I'm sorry.
That's great. I use all three names.
Okay.
um, Thank you so much, Elaine Lane, for inviting me to be a part of this Women's History program. I think it's so important that we do have community engagement during Women's History Month, Black History Month, and really engagement with the community all through the year because as parents, we have a responsibility to our children. As parents, as elders, as adults, we have a responsibility to our community and thus through our children that builds the foundation of our community. As I said, my name is Cheryl Willis Hudson. I am the editorial director and a vice president of a company called Just Us Books, which is located in East Orange, New Jersey and West Orange, New Jersey. We have been in business and incorporated since 1988. So that means that we're going into our 34th year of being a publisher. We only publish children's books, but our books are centered around the African American experience, culture, history, And we enjoy producing and creating books that speak to that experience and centers our children in the experience of reading. It's so important, and reading can't be underestimated in any way because you need it for everything that you do. You need to know how to count. You need to know how to put letters together, to spell your name, to uh, read stop signs, to read a map, to even go to the movies, read subtitles. It's an integral part of what we need as a literate society. And really speaking to the fact that at growing up, I had no books that really related to my experience of being an African American. We were Negroes at that time, but at the same time, all the books in the schools were really of white kids, and in a sense, our history and our recognition of self had been erased. So, as an adult and as a new parent, we were interested in seeing more of that, and there were so few books at the time that we decided to do this, take on the challenge ourselves by self-publishing an alphabet book for children. And that one experience led to other experiences of not only self-publishing work that we had done, and that's my husband and myself, but also other people in the community at large. So that's Just Us Books, and we're about reading and literacy and doing it for education, but for entertainment and just pure fun and pleasure.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you. Christine Jackson.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. I am
Good
Christine
afternoon.
Jackson. I actually currently live in Union. I'm formerly from Georgetown, Guyana. I'm the mother of two amazing children, my 12-year-old son Matthew and my 8-year-old daughter Maya. I am currently the director for Motorola Solutions. I am responsible for their enterprise market systems integration and manage and support services teams, a company that I've had the pleasure of working for over 18 years. I joined that company in 2004 as a co op student and eventually became a full time employee. I began as an engineer because I do have an electrical and computer engineering degree from Rutgers and have held many positions before assuming my current role last July. The industry I work in is and was predominantly middle aged white males. So that came with its inherent challenges being a young Black woman. So, not just one, not just two, but three hurdles that made it a little bit difficult to survive. Feeling a sense of belonging and comfort simply was not there in the beginning. But through dedication and determination by God's grace, I've managed, with the help of many advocates along the way, to successfully perform in my current role. Like I mentioned before, I think it's the timing is perfect. Many of my family members, I've always tried over the years to describe to them how challenging it is working in my role, working in the environment in which I find myself. And one of the most relatable current experiences that everyone has the privilege of seeing right now is what's happening with Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. That just is a very perfect example of my daily sojourn that I have been part of along this journey. And it's been challenging, but it's been extremely rewarding. And I will say that my company has made tremendous strides and been intentional about changing the environment and changing the mindset. But we will go through some of those challenges and we will talk about them during our discourse today. But also, one of the things I wanted to share, one of the major foundation pillars of who I am as a person has been my faith. I attended teaching church led by the Reverend Dr. Dolores Watson, and the teachings that I've received from her have played a critical role in becoming the young woman I am today, and being able to face many of the tough challenges that I have met along the way in terms of people, situations, and the ability to succeed in a very challenging environment. I look forward to our discourse today, And thank you for this opportunity, Miss Elaine.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you so very much. Mr. Samantha Dow Hankerson.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Certainly a pleasure to serve on this panel, and thank you, Miss Elaine, for the opportunity. And as I'm hearing the introductions, I'm also hearing the connections. Of course, I know of Just Us, but I did not know the owner. So, Cheryl, it's a pleasure to meet you. Christine, I am also Guyanese.
Oh!
And also have a son named Matthew. So there's some connections there. And of course, the Mayor Bertrace Delia. We know each other from our political engagements. And of course, her husband is a part of Alpha Phi Alpha. My brother is a part of Alpha Phi Alpha. We're connected on many levels as well. So it's a pleasure to share the stage of this Zoom setting with you all. A bit about my background. I am an administrator at Seton Hall University. I'm in higher ed. I hear some background static. Is it me or can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay. I am the owner of Higher Etiquette and Mentoring Institute. It's an etiquette business working with young people, adults, seniors, all ages, on social graces and how do we engage in a civil and live in a civil society. I'm also a former elected official as well on the local level, a councilwoman in the city of Roselle. And I'm also currently the president of the Beta Alpha Mega Chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And I'm also the Eastern Region Coordinator for Bennett College Alumni Association. And the reason why I've stated all of my current roles and previous roles is because they're all interconnected, because I'm very intentional in what I do. As you can see, that line, it's women, it's African American women, it's working in our community and always giving back. So for me, what I've done in my career and in my volunteer work, I'm always conscious about my community that looks like me and making sure I am constantly giving back, pulling up, and excelling in my own personal growth and development. So I look forward to the dialogue today and the conversation. I know for certain I'm going to pick up many nuggets because you ladies have some awesome backgrounds as well. And again, Elaine, thank you for this opportunity, especially on the heels of the hearing we just witnessed and the continued not controversy, but pressure our sister had to face unnecessarily. It's good to have this platform to engage with women on the same space and talk about those issues that we face daily that we may not talk in the public, but definitely talk behind the scene. But as we saw this week, it was right there online in front of the country and the world to see. So thank you again, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. And Mayor, I'm just going to call you Mayor because I know how to pronounce that. So please pronounce your whole name and introduce yourself.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dahlia Vertrice, and I'm the mayor of Hillside, New Jersey. And that's one of my two full-time jobs. My other occupation is a labor relations specialist and an organizer for the International Union of Operating Engineers. It's Local 68. And what I do on a day-to-day basis is handle grievances and arbitrations for my union, which is in the building trades, which again does not have an abundance of minorities. You will see some of our literature coming out regarding our apprenticeship programs is trying to attract more minorities and women into the building trades. I'm working tirelessly to get people away from saying college is not for everybody. Sometimes college just needs to be delayed. Sometimes college is not something you want to invest in right now. Maybe you want to make money first and then go to college. And the building trades and vocational skills is absolutely a way to go. It's just a lot of, we lack exposure in the inner city communities, particularly with African American and Hispanic young men being allowed entry into the building trades programs. So this is something that we are collectively, the CIO portion of the AFL-CIO, has been challenging us regarding these things for years. One side being more heavily minority, and the other one primarily white males. So my being brought into the room was a little bit controversial initially, but I am molding and adapting and making sure that my role as the mayor overlaps into my role with the union, because they both provide a degree of public service, education, and forward thinking.
Thank you. Thank you so very, very much. I just think that we're going to have a very full conversation based on your background, based on your interests, and based on what you already are doing in the community. My first question is, you being a woman and of African American descent, has that been a roadblock, a blessing, or both on your journey to success? Anybody?
Well, I think I'm the oldest one in the room, so or near the oldest one in the room, so I can speak to that. Um, I think it's been both a blessing. I'm involved in and have been employed in publishing for 50 years. Our company is 33 years old, but I've been working in publishing, employed for various textbook companies, trade companies, freelance positions, encyclopedias. I've done all kinds of publishing. And publishing is one of those fields too that when I became involved in the late 1960s, early 1970s, there were very few African Americans involved. Publishing is a major industry in this country, and that is the companies, organizations that make words, text, documents, stories public and available for people to read. So it plays a major role in our society in terms of what stories are told, who's telling them, where can you find books, where can you find or have access to really to knowledge. So I started out as an art editor trainee at a textbook company in Boston. I think there were about 35 people in the art department, and I was the only Black person, and I was right out of college. And I really got the job because I had been involved in a summer program at Radcliffe College on publishing procedures. During that time, there were no degrees offered in publishing as a vocation. So it was a summer program. I took the course, and you had access to, I love books, and that was the reason that I signed up for the course. So the journey in this field is one where there has been little representation, and therefore there's been little representation in the books that we have for our children in the school system, and books that are available for pleasure. So being the only African American puts you in the spotlight of being the spokesperson for, how many Black people should we have in this picture? Should this story be about a little girl and her dog, or shall it be about a little Black girl and her dog? So we are talking about a country that has been involved in systemic racism since African Americans have been on these shores. And the nature of that impacts how the public at large views African Americans. And those stereotypes have persisted through the Civil War and Reconstruction. And today, George Floyd, police brutality, social justice concerns, even, the politics of the judge a book was held up in her hearing, Anti-Racist Baby, and she was questioned on whether she believed in what the story was saying. So publishing is very, very important and very powerful. And so, you can be a token, or you can be someone who advocates for knowledge and information for everyone. And that's what I've tried to do in my role as an editor and as an art person. So it's been a hindrance in some ways, because there's a lot of pressure on you to be the only one to speak for everybody. But it's also been an opportunity to share more stories and to help other people get into a field that is really, really definitely needed.
So I have to agree. Just like Cheryl, also it's been a roadblock, but it's also been a blessing. So a roadblock in the sense that, like I said before, being in a predominantly white male environment, I've suffered walking into a room and before any words are exchanged or any the nonverbal communication says, "Why are you here? How did you get here? Is there a role for you in here?" And like I said, they don't have to say anything. It's the way you're greeted, the way you're not embraced, that makes it stand out to you that you're not really welcome here. They don't necessarily chase you out the door, but it's certainly clear that it's a roadblock. Many of the times when I've actually been in a meeting, like I said, the nonverbal communication before the meeting starts says that, "Why are you here?" But as soon as we start speaking, I've had many of these same gentlemen at the end of the meeting say, "Wow, you are quite knowledgeable," or "You've got tremendous experience and you've got so much value to add." And it's almost like I want to scream in my head, "So why did you assume that I had no such um, information to share, or that I was not knowledgeable just based on the way I look? The fact that I'm young, the fact that I'm a woman, and the fact that I'm Black meant that it's not possible to have the kind of experience and to have the value and the point of view and the meaningful information that would be impactful." So in that sense, the roadblocks have definitely been many. But I would say what's been a tremendous blessing to me being a Black woman is my faith and knowing hard work and knowing who I am and believing in who I am. I've had parents who instilled values in me from very early on that I'm different, and I've embraced being different. Different doesn't make me feel less than, different just makes me driven to prove to others that I am worthy to be here, no matter if you assume that I shouldn't be here just from looking at me. So, just like you, I'm one of very few. In fact, I can't think of too many other Black females at my job at all. But we're a global company, so I can't say that categorically because I can only speak for who I've seen in the US. But we certainly are completely underrepresented. So I take that as a challenge too, and maybe it gives me a little bit of a heavier burden to carry, but to showcase that we are talented and we are a force to be reckoned with, and we can certainly do amazing things once we're given the opportunity to do so.
What I'm hearing from both of you is that that we can look at certain kinds of jobs and not see ourselves. And this is for the young person, may have a desire to be in that kind of job. Just because I can't see someone that looks like me in that job does not mean that I don't belong. It does not mean that I can't strive for. It just means that I have to do whatever is necessary for me to do in order to get there. And then once I get there, then I may be able to do some things to pave the way for others. But just because I don't see a face that looks like me in another job, does not mean that I don't belong there. If that's what I want to do. Thank you so very much. I look at television and sometimes I'm a little disheartened because I see some definitions of success that I'm not too sure whether I totally agree with. So my question is, and each one of you, I honestly and truly believe that you have achieved a level of success. So my question is, what is your definition of success? Samantha?
Yes, thank you. Success for everyone has a different meaning, right? And it's different stages in our lives. When I was a younger girl, my definition of success was going off to college and having the dream job and, having children and being married and all the things society continuously place on us to say this is what this image looks like, right? Um, However, and all of you know, as we are living life and we're experiencing life, we find out necessarily all those things are not the fullness of success, right? They're levels in success, but not the fullness. So for me, the fullness of success, especially because of COVID, and it really had me doing some internal assessment, right, of happiness and success. And of course, first and foremost, it's just good health. Making sure that I am healthy and I'm solid because I need to be able to provide and do for those that I love. And if I'm not successfully taking care of myself, right, I'm not living up to my full potential. So I can't obtain those steps that I've laid out for myself. So my definition has evolved over the years. For me, success, yes, it does contain some of those things I did thought as a young girl. But now it's how at peace am I? Am I happy in my job? And do I feel that it brings me comfort and joy? And am I serving those living out my mission and passion in life? And if I can check that off, yes, regardless of what my income level may be, and regardless of what challenges that may come with it, right? Because if it's fulfilling, and if I feel I'm living out my purpose, for me now at this age, that is success for me. So that will be my current definition. Who knows, in another 20 years, it may evolve, right? But that's the beauty of being a woman, right? We have the flexibility and we have the authority to continue to become, as our former, always First Lady Michelle Obama said, we're always becoming. So whatever definitions and views we have in life, they continue to evolve as we evolve. But for right now, that's it for me.
Based on what you said, it kind of reminds me of, because I think you've seen a presentation, you've had the opportunity to see a presentation that I've given with the kids.
Yes.
And one, we call it Honoring Life. And that's what I want kids to understand. When they feel good about what they're doing, when they feel a sense of accomplishment of what they're doing, that's success. I don't need $50 million to be successful. I need to feel at home. I need to feel a sense of well-being within me in order to be successful. Mayor?
I think that success for me has come because I'm not emotionally attached to a goal or an outcome.
Mm.
And what that means is that every single day, whatever is put before me, I'm going to work very, very hard at that. Problems that arise, I'm going to monitor and adjust. And when I come home at night, I take inventory of the things that I did accomplish and what was the best thing of my day. And sometimes that means I was successful at getting home in an early enough time to have dinner with my family or read to my sons. I don't always have that opportunity in doing two full-time jobs. And because we talk about this idea of balance, sometimes I cannot balance it all and I fail at something. So rather than dwelling on what I didn't get accomplished that day, focus on what you accomplished and be happy because you met a goal, not necessarily the goals and the platforms and the unreasonable expectations that we place on ourselves, because women are very, very hard on ourselves. And I've been harnessing a lot on the idea of support and what that looks like. We say we support each other, but I have not experienced an abundance of support in the ways that I think when you're in a very difficult position that we should. And we're quick to identify mistakes and flaws of each other, not realizing that 9 times out of 10, we've already identified those mistakes and flaws and we just don't need help in that arena. So when right?
So true.
Very, very true. Absolutely.
So I don't get attached to a goal. I remember my uncle Howard saying to me, whatever you do, as long as it's positive, I'll love it. So whatever life throws at you, as long as it's good, it's positive, and you do your best in that moment, there's nothing anybody can say. So that's success. It's not a title, it's not a salary. That's not necessarily successful, because it's a lot of people with money that commit suicide every day. There's a lot of
Amen.
people with marriages that look functional and they come home and they hate each other.
Mhm.
So I don't have any of those problems. And so that to me is what makes me successful.
You
Listen,
said so much. You have
Yes.
said so much.
amen.
Yes.
I can take some lessons from you. I'm telling you, old timer. But
Oh, wow.
for me, it's uh, my husband and I started Just Us Books out of a need to see more of ourselves in children's literature for our children. So we did not start this business with the goal of being on the New York Times bestseller list. We just wanted something that our children could read, and got mad that nobody wanted to publish it. So we published it ourselves. And in taking what was then a leap of faith to say, okay, XYZ publisher doesn't want it, and we sent them, and which was a traditional way of getting your work published. You just assume that you write it, you send it off to an editor, they select it, they publish it, print it, send it out. It's on the New York Times bestseller list. Everybody's, you win $1 million, you buy a big house, you drive a big car. None of that. Keep your day job. I'm just telling you now. Because there's so many, because we don't know about these jobs and industry and whatever, you don't know that it might take to publish a 4-color book might take an investment of $30,000 or $40,000 before you even get a book into the store, because you got to pay the author, you got to pay the illustrator, you got to pay the designer, you got to pay somebody to advertise, you got to pay for the paper, you got to pay for the distribution, you got to pay ads in the Library Journal, you got to pay ads to the New York Times so that they'll review your, that you're supposed to have access to reviews, but everything has a cost. So if we had gone into this business trying to be successful by having a New York Times bestseller, and that is a criteria. Oh, he's a New York Times, got gold stickers, have won all of these awards. That's a modicum of success. But for us, it's really after doing it and being the first and having to learn from our own mistakes and missteps. It's just having a legacy that we have actually done it, that we realized in an epiphany that we could do it ourselves and didn't have to depend on someone else. And I think that's the challenge for small businesses, large businesses, dreamers, children. It doesn't have to be someone else that does it. If you have an idea, you can accomplish. It doesn't mean you have to reinvent the wheel, but you have that faith in yourself that you don't have to depend on somebody else to do it. You can have a dream, whether it's to be an astronaut or a prima ballerina or a publisher, or to write your own book or tell your own story or to be in the movies. So success for us is having a child come up to me and say, oh, that book, Jamal's Busy Day. My name is Jamal. And when have you seen a book with a Black child's name in it, before? So my name is Jamal. So, and I like that, or that looks just like me, or I'm going to be a ballerina when I grow up, or I'm going to be a great Black woman, a Supreme Court, jobs that we haven't even thought of, we don't even know exist. The legacy is in the child's response to what we have done, rather than any monetary or even outside acclaim from the industry itself.
Absolutely. And speaking of legacy, for me, the term success has always meant all around positive influence. A successful person to me is one who embodies authenticity, integrity, influence, and has a public identity of greatness. But let me clarify, when I say public identity does not refer to who you are on social media, but who people say you are when you're not in the room. That's the true measure of
Mhm.
success from my lens. Is your character and a legacy one you're proud of? Talking about legacy, right? How many lives have you touched in a meaningful way to inspire greatness in others? One of the mantras I live by, and this touches on what the mayor talked about before, is empowered women empower women. There's enough room and opportunity for us all to rise. And I think if we go into life knowing that we want to empower each other, because I hear about women tearing down each other all the time, but we should strive to empower each other more than anything else. And I think that is how we build a legacy of success.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. I heard there's a book. A young man wrote a book. I'm quite sure you might have seen it on television because I know he's been on several different programs trying to get everyone to attention. And I think it's going to be on New York Times bestsellers list or something. He has one already who's been there. And he talks about, striving. He talks about, you know, your journey to success. And the one thing he said, don't have a goal, he said to have a direction because, and he talks about that he had a goal that he wanted to be, what do you call, picked first three drafts or whatever it is was, with football. And then he had a physical, what do you call it, accident, which meant that he couldn't be on the first three drafts and he was on the sixth draft. Um, and everything that you're saying it sounds like maybe some of you have written some chapter in that book or so because that's exactly what he's been saying.
Mhm.
Mayor, you said you don't look for a goal. It's just the things that you do out the day, the positive things you do out the day. You determine your success in that particular way. And that's exactly, to a certain extent, that's exactly what he was saying. I have to find the what do you call it, the title of that book because I know I need to read it. I really would like to read it because it
It was
sounds like it has some value to it.
it's funny. I took my kids roller skating the other day, and I was telling them, because they kept like trying to look behind them, and I said, no, you have your space, right? The only thing that you can control is where you're going and how to avoid other people who are falling. And that's the same thing with problems. You monitor and adjust, but at the end of the day, you still keep going. You be cognizant of your place, eyes up, stay up, go forward, avoid all pitfalls, and you'll be successful.
Amen.
Here. I couldn't agree with that one more, right? I tell my folks all the time, the only constant in life is change. And how are we successful? How we adapt to the change. I think, I'm sorry, I have to chime in. I think a lot of us have been brought up to believe that life is not going to be challenging. That when you face challenges, it means that something is wrong with you or somehow you're broken. It doesn't mean that at all. Just like you told your sons, you're going to have fallen people. You just have to figure out how to navigate around. Sometimes you've got to jump over. Sometimes maybe you got to split your legs. You can't, it's not a one size fits all. You just got to adapt to whatever is in front of you. But like you said, in at all costs, stay up. And there you go. I like it.
And if I can add to that, I know my son Matthew, he's listening in Virginia. He's a graduating senior. And I think it's my quote, but he took it and he counted it as his. So I'll just let him have it because it's taking him through. But he always says, he's been saying it for quite many years now. Mom, life is about 20% what happens to you and 80% how you
How you
deal with it, how you
respond.
look at it and respond. He throws that at me every so often when I get a little bit, cheesy about something like, Mom, and he says it's his, but I'll let him have it as I said. But it's so true. Your aspect, your perception, right? And how you deal with something, how you respond makes such a difference on the level of success you achieve, or those daily successes that we have. Because if we allow moments to bring us down, to break us, and we don't get back up, then we truly have failed. We have not lived out our passion or our purpose. So, I think we're all saying the same things, which we've lived and we've done. I'm sure we've had many obstacles, respectively, right? And it wasn't, in that moment what we did. It was how we responded to it, right? How we got back up and kept going and turned that lemon into lemonade, whatever analogy we want to use. But the point is that we kept going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was just thinking, as I was thinking about today, and I was thinking about our conversation, the one thing that came to my mind was that yes, we may have stumbling blocks, but the only obstacle that would move us away from where we want to go is ourselves. We are the only, what do you call, barrier. We are the only barrier that keeps us from succeeding to a certain extent, whatever that might look like. The only barrier is us. Maybe saying I can't do it. Saying, well, maybe, pointing a finger at someone else and saying it's their fault, rather than accepting responsibility, looking at the situation and say, okay, what do I do next? I know, like I've been in with David Shoes for so long. I did not know anything about a nonprofit, nothing, absolutely nothing. And I realized, number one, as well, that it's also a business. It's a nonprofit business, but it's a business. Had no background, didn't even want to know anything about this business. So my journey was, you fall, you learn, you get back up and you move. Then you go and you fall again, you get back up, you learn and you move, and that because I said I've got to do it. I've got to continue doing it and if I have to continue doing it, then I can't stay laying down. I can't wallow in my quote failure, because I don't think it's a failure. It's just, it's a learning period. It really and truly is a learning period.
What you're saying, Elaine, is so true. I mean, I think each one of us has been placed on the earth with a purpose or with something that we have to do.
Yeah.
And I think that having to accept, a commercial view of what success is limiting. So that's why we talk about our legacy, and our mission is to provide good books for children. So that's general enough to say, if we provide, if we create, and if we write them ourselves, if we give someone else an opportunity to do it, if we endorse someone else who's doing it and starting their own company to publish books, that's part of our mission and not a goal, end goal in itself. And my mother-in-law used to tell her grandchildren, man, just do your best and let God do the rest. It's, it's like having faith in yourself that you are able to do this, to be aware that you have that capacity, because you have been created to do that, and not to be. And I think in our society, Black kids, brown kids are marginalized so much in the way that we are taught, the way our education system is set up, the way the media portrays our kids as gangsters, as low lifes, as somebody who's stealing from you, somebody who is going to. My son at one point had a job at the mall in one of these sports kind of stores, and he was a customer, whatever you call them, customer associate. And someone came in and because he was standing around and watching what, people, may I help you? Someone wanted to accuse him of shoplifting from the store. He was employed by the store.
Oh my God.
So those kinds of, like Ahmaud Arbery or a number of cases where you are assumed to be guilty of something rather than there's assumption of that you are in this for some positive or just being yourself. So I think we have to fight those images that are part of television and media and games and Facebook and all of those kinds of things. And we've got to be very intentional about what we do so that it becomes a mission rather than just a job to achieve a certain level of income or status.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, and that's one thing that I try to do. Even on the Facebook page, we try to get people. We try to look for articles where kids are doing great things, and we lift them up because I know that there are people who cannot believe that there are kids of this particular color. They're doing a lot of these and our kids are doing some really fantastic
Right.
things. And my question is, why can't that be seen on television? Why can't that be seen? And so you're 100% right. It's extremely important. And that goes on to, well, my next question is, and you all are showing what you're saying is you are being role models for young people today. And not only what you're saying, but what you're doing as well, you know.
Mhm.
But who were your role models? And how did they affect you? How did they help you get to where, put that idea, and I don't know, whatever the idea was in your head that helped to move you forward?
Well, well, for me, I've had several over my life thus far, and I'm sure more to come. Every time I see a sister or woman doing something great, I admire it, right? And I'm appreciating it. Shows what is achievable and attainable. But as a young child, it has always been, and it continues to be my mom. Um, her, first of all, just her kindness. The kindest woman you will ever come across, my mother. Sometimes she's too kind, but and just her resilience and outlook on life. And she always says, Samantha, life is meant to be lived, so live it. Do your best at all times. She's my greatest cheerleader and my greatest critic, because she would tell me if I'm not doing something or I'm not living up to my truest potential. So she has always been a constant in my life from a young girl, as a grown woman now, and with a child of my own. But then, of course, when I look at professional women, I remember when I was at Bennett College, my freshman year, Dorothy Heights came to my college, and I had a chance to meet her and talk with her. And she looked at me, she said, we need to start a chapter here at this college. And I happened to be the person who was the first president and the charter and president and the founder, one of the founders of the Bennett College section of the National Council of Negro Women. So I share that to say, for me, role models, they have been over my lifetime in different places and different spaces. And I pray that it doesn't stop. I pray I continue to meet women. Just watching these hearings, the resilience, the intellect, the grace of the honorable judge, Brown Jackson, inspiring. Another role model, we're not too far from age, but yet I still can pull from her and take examples from her. So role models for me are constant in my life, but my dearest and most precious and treasured role model is my mom.
Thank you.
Well, we have something in it. She must be Guyanese, that lady. Who was so kind, right? And of course, the similarities continue. So my parents are and were my role models. Growing up, my parents embodied success. They led successful careers. I had the honor of watching them navigate a lot of hurdles, but my mother has always been poised, assertive, and an extremely effective introverted leader. And it's so interesting because I feel like I'm a little bit of my mother's spawn, and my dad is an articulate public speaker who's very analytical as a leader. And so between the two, I've had the honor of watching them and being able to find my own authentic self while I watch them maneuver this life. And I'm very fortunate and blessed that they're still a part of my life. So just like Samantha said, they are my greatest advocates and cheerleaders, but they're also my harshest critics and will say, Christina, I'm not so sure about that decision. But they're both well known and respected, both personally and professionally, instilling, the value of hard work and really taught me the example of navigating difficult situations. But most importantly, I think because they taught me how to interact with people from all walks of life in an inclusive manner. So being able to talk to the janitor and being able to be comfortable talking to the CEO in a way that makes them feel engaged, makes them feel included. I feel like those soft skills have been able to set me apart because one of the things that I'm very well known for at work is being able to just talk to anybody and navigate some of the political turmoil to make things happen. And another, like Samantha said, and the role models continue. And I don't always call them role models, but I'm always observing others, learning what I think are great skills and picking great attributes, and also learning what not to do because that's also important in this journey called life. And my pastor has also been such a great influence, also, really teaching me to believe in myself, overcome self esteem issues because I did have self esteem issues growing up, although my parents, taught me that I was loved and all that. Just struggling sometimes with being darker and being a Black woman. But I'm so thankful for where I am now, learning that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made and I can do
Made.
all things through Christ who strengthens me. It's just been a much easier way to navigate these hurdles, these barriers, and feels like I'm running a decathlon and a steeplechase in water, and sometimes going over a hurdle and going through all the nuances of this life. But yeah, my role models have really been my parents, and I'm so incredibly thankful that they're still in my life today.
Great,
I will
great.
I will echo that sentiment in my parents, but I will also say that my parents raised me to do better than the last generation. And they said that, there's only one you. They never expected me to have the problems and the issues that they had in their generation. They wanted me to be observant of those things, but to take their experience and use it as a part of my journey for strength. And so I went sometimes when we tell young people that they have to do things like put in their dues or, sit back and wait your turn. They said that stuff to Obama. And I think that when we tell younger people that kind of stuff, we steal from them because
Yes.
they have a completely different experience than what we had growing up. I don't know what it's like to learn virtually. I don't know what it's like to be a female athlete and have to go to athletic camps and maybe you're the only female there amongst 50 other boys. I don't know what it's like to have, a different type of math than what my parents learned. So those types of experience already make our children way different than we are. And I think that by prohibiting them from exploring and being exposed to people that can just kind of teach them what they know, but let them grapple with it as they will to basically create new things that we don't even see today. And I explained this to a young person yesterday that we can sit here and tell you about a lawyer and a doctor and an engineer, but what you are meant to do in this world might not even exist yet because
Mm.
Yes.
you are not grown yet. You have not experienced everything that you needed to do to create it. And so all of these wonderful, positive, innovative things that we enjoy today, we didn't even take inventory of those positive inventions and experiences until 10, 20 years later, because the bad things happen so fast. We pay so much attention to disasters and wars and things like that. We're not paying attention to ideas and what people are
Mm.
bringing that's uniquely them, because those things are usually quiet and they emerge slowly, and we don't take inventory of it until years after the fact. But there are wonderful things being created and it's based on exposure. So I have a very hard time with the whole like role model question, because I was able to take a lot of issues and parts of my parents' journey and become that much stronger because of it. And it's in a totally different way that they would not be supportive of. I've done a lot of things that my mother is like, clutch the pearls. I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you did that. But it's like, you know, Mom, you have never been an elected official. You've never been one of 3 Black female mayors in the entire state, having to be sometimes the only female mayor in the state, and having to be responsible and responsive to some of the issues in our Black community that people do not see from a woman's perspective or a mother's perspective, because those are 2 different roles as well. So again, I don't like to type fit a journey, and my parents just didn't raise me like that. But I will say that 2 of my favorite historic people, Anna Arnold Hedgeman, I love her. If you know her story, she is definitely a historic hero that has been forgotten. She is the backbone of the March on Washington. Martin Luther King and Bayard Rustin and Asa Philip Randolph, you know, they get all the shine, but it was Anna Arnold Hedgeman that put that entire march together and brought those brothers together, because they did not like each other. The other person, of course, is Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill saved the world. I don't care what you say. That crazy little white man, he stuck it out when the world was literally against him. The United States wouldn't help. Hitler had taken over the rest of Europe. He was like, my little island and me and my little pudgy self, you are not coming up in here with that mess. And he held it down. He held the fort. So those 2 people are definitely my historic icons.
Yes.
Oh
I'm
my
going to jump in
gosh.
here again, just for, but to amen everything that everyone else has said. And I think the thing that comes through to me, and my mother is my hero, and I think our parents, because they are our first teachers. And again, you don't realize, I mean, my mother and I came to blows, you know, when I first got my hair in the afro. She said, I'm not even going to say what she said. She was a Christian lady for Sunday school. But which brings to bear that the generational shift between the 50s and when I grew up under Jim Crow. So we went to all Black schools because they were required to be all Black schools. It was against the law for white people to go to school with Blacks or to have any, and we had to sit at the back of the bus, and we had to drink out of separate water fountains, and you couldn't try on shoes in the store. And don't say anything about a woman trying on a hat, a Black woman just trying on a hat, you know, or getting credit. They're different. It's a whole different generation post Reconstruction, post World War One. I was born right after World War II. My father was in the Army, and he was a Black businessman who sold insurance and worked for a Black insurance agency. So our world was completely different from what integration was. A really controversial thing, you know. And all of us did not march with Martin Luther King and believe in what he said, but there was a sea change, a shift with that movement to speaking up for your rights. So when I was in high school, I couldn't imagine going to a school where white kids were, even though the laws changed so that it, you know, you're supposed to have equality under the law. The schools were not integrated until, you know, 10 years afterwards. As a matter of fact, in Virginia, Prince Edward County, the schools were closed for 7 years because white people didn't want their kids going to school with the Black kids in Farmville. So that's a big change in the way you think about things and value yourself through the 60s. But to say for a role model, my mother was a role model. My mother was one of the first people in her family to go to college. She majored in French. She was known as Madame Willis, and she spoke French. She went to France. She studied in France. She went to school and summer programs to advance her career while making less money than the white teacher who was the head of the department once they integrated the schools. So you see those disparities in your life growing through them, but everything that she taught us was, you know, do your best. You have to do you have to be twice as good to get half as far. And if you don't know something, look it up. I mean, that was the advice. So to not be limited by what you don't know, find out for yourself. use those resources. And my father the same, although he died when I was very, very young. So parents are really the first teachers. And if you have those as effective parents, I think for children, parents should be the role models. But I'd like to mention, I did just recently create a book called Brave Black First. There are 50 African American women who changed the world. And among those women are Mary McLeod Bethune, Wilma Rudolph, Beyonce, changed the world in her own way. So our values are reflected in a Black woman who was the first, Dorothy Height, the first one to do something. And I love those stories that we don't hear enough of women who organized and who taught and who financed and made a way out of no way. So those are so many Black women are my heroes.
This has been so exciting. I want to go on for the next 3 hours. Unfortunately, it's 5 o'clock, so we're going to have to sum up. You all have said so much within this last hour, and there's so many pieces of learning, so many pieces of nuggets that we could take. I thank you so very much, and I say to those who are listening, please share this, what you've heard, share it with someone else, so that, especially if someone else has a young person, a young adult growing up, please, this has been so rich and absolutely beautiful. Thank you so very much. I am on cloud 9, to be honest with you.
Well, thank you for allowing us to be
Yes.
here and being in this space to just talk a little bit about our journey. And thank you for doing this work. I have 3 young sons myself and a husband. People forget. So I have all testosterone in my life every day.
God bless you.
Oh, wow. And that's another key point. I was raised with 3 brothers and the only girl, but I was not discouraged from doing something because I was the girl. I tried to do everything that my brothers did. And there is that, difference
Yes.
too, sometimes in the way girls are treated, but it's less of a concern now because I think that we can do everything. And
Right,
as Mayor said, you
right.
can do all things, or Christine said, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. So
Right.
that's what I say.
When we talk about our mothers, one thing my mother used to say, when she would tell other people, Elaine can do that. Elaine can do that. Elaine can do that. She reminded me, remember there was a cereal where this Mikey could eat anything? Well, that was me. That reminded me of me with my mother. My mother thought I could do anything. How do you know I can do that? And she had me in certain situations I didn't even know whether I could do it or not. But that I thought Mikey and I were kin because we were so. Thank you. Thank you. One other thing, on July 26th is our 13th annual scholarship luncheon. Please email me whatever for tickets. It's going to be at Galloping Hills. Again, we've had it at Galloping Hills for most of the time. We will be giving scholarships in the amount of $750 to hopefully 10 young men. 6 young men would be returning to college because we give these scholarships out for the 4 years that they're in. And we'll have 4 new freshmen for this year. So think about it. We'd love to see you. Please think about the scholarship luncheon. Think about what we've said here today. And each person who is listening, please be an advocate for a kid. As you can see, all of us had very good role models. We had parents who cared and loved us. Even though there were times in which we went, we had different ideas. Everybody doesn't have that. Every kid does not have that mother that says that person can do it. Every kid doesn't have that mother that sees the beauty in that child. please, please, when you get the if and when you get the opportunity to step in, please, please step in. Thank you so very much. And thank you
And
to the
thank you,
audience. Thank you.
and thank you. I must say thank you to my co-panelists. A lot of similarities there. Only girl of 3 brothers, and testosterone's in my household.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Lane. This is awesome. I'm looking forward to the scholarship luncheon.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes, we've done it before.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, you guys take care.
Take care.
You
Bye,
too.
ladies. Enjoy the
Bye
rest
now.
of your day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Women's History Month.
Yes.